This segment is sponsored by OnCenter Software.
Welcome to ConstructTech TV. From bridges in Pennsylvania to the replica Eiffel Tower in China, I'm once again going to bring you inside 5 innovative construction projects. Today, we'll be looking at a development project in the Bronx, rehab of the Old Forge Bridge, a new sports dome, the Eiffel Tower in China, and a climate resiliency project. First up, let's head to the Bronx. Here, a new 12-story residential building is being constructed. We'll begin by looking at the construction specs, and then we'll dive right into the technology used on this project. UA Builders Group is responsible for the 115 feet tall building. But here is what makes this building really stand tall. The project team collaborated throughout multiple phases of the project. This includes design, pre-construction, scheduling, and even estimating. On this particular project, Building Information Modeling, otherwise known as BIM, truly elevated this project. BIM displayed all of the building components and the systems. The improved coordination, communication with all the trades resulted in a shorter schedule and reduced costs. Now talk about taking BIM to the next level. The Old Forge Bridge in Quincy Township, Pennsylvania is one of only 2 that still have Phoenix columns. For those of you who might not know about a Phoenix column, it was patented in 1861. Now, I did a little research on this, and that is why it is so very rare that any bridge today has these built-up beams. Preserving this type of historical structure can be truly challenging, and now new funding has been granted for work on the Old Forge Bridge. Case Construction Equipment gave $25,000 to Quincy Township. This will be used for the replacement and repair work on the Old Forge Bridge. And you might imagine the bridge has been steadily deteriorating. With grant money, it is being refurbished. And it's nice to see this project revitalizing a little piece of history. When you think of innovation in a sports complex, I'm going to guess you probably think of your favorite professional sports team. But domes are changing for youth and amateur sports, and your company will need to know exactly what to expect. So let's take a look at the new sports dome in East Fishkill, New York. It will house 4 baseball fields and 4 multi-sports fields. Now, to give you an idea of just how big this really is, it's 3 full-size football fields and 8 acres under just one roof. The innovative dome leverages a patented Baez cable net system. It allows air structures to span several acres, and it overcomes the obstacle of overstressing all the fabric. This also enables the dome to meet the same structural code standards as conventional buildings. The results are truly impressive. Significant cost savings and shorter installation times are expected. The dome will take several months to construct and about 6 weeks to install. In the end, it will bring a lot of innovation to youth and amateur sports complexes. Let's move on to the Eiffel Tower. No, I'm not talking about the one in Paris, although I was just there and it's quite impressive. I'm talking about the Macau Eiffel Tower in China. It is roughly half the scale of the original, but it required additional technology in the planning and design of the modern structure. The design team drafted the tower using software which provided a visual representation. It also kind of helped detect potential clashes. This saved a significant amount of time than the original. One other challenge was ensuring the correct critical wind loading calculations for the tower. This is essential due to the issue of typhoons. The team applied the equivalent static wind of load approaches. This helps determine the wind loads. The design team also scrutinized the wind-induced dynamic response at the tower's top peak. Through this scenario planning, the construction team created accurate design. But perhaps even more important, which I think is really cool, China has a super safe structure. When disaster strikes, communities come together to rebuild. That is exactly what we see on the Rockaway Boardwalk, which is currently undergoing construction following Hurricane Sandy. The boardwalk was rebuilt this past winter and fall. $140 million was invested to repair the beach. This includes buildings, restrooms, and lifeguard stations. And there are some pretty innovative techniques used on this project. This includes geotextile sandbag installation, baffle walls, and a sand retaining wall. It is so encouraging to see how communities and workers come together to rebuild after tragedy strikes. That's your Tech Update for today. The summer is one of the busiest times of the year for everyone here in construction. It's also one of the most dangerous. As construction companies, you're looking to take advantage of the longer daylight hours, but your workers are also at risk of overheating and dehydration. In response, several major health and safety organizations have teamed up to launch an app to ensure all of your workers know when it's time to step back and when they may be feeling the heat. Here to tell us all about it is Brenda Jacklish, health scientist for the Education and Information Division at the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. So Brenda, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Brenda, let's talk about it. The summer months are really the toughest when we talk about construction and the heat. Why do we have so many construction workers struggling with the heat in the summer months?
Well, of course, temperature is a big factor. A lot of these workers are also working in high humidity areas. In addition, they're doing very difficult tasks where they're actually increasing their body heat because they're working harder. And also, many of them are wearing personal protective equipment that, while it's protecting them from other hazards, it can also increase the heat load that they're experiencing. And so all of this, increases the heat burden and increases their heat stress, and then that can result in heat-related illnesses and injuries.
So you've come up with now a safety kind of heat app. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a great idea for alerting them to some of these problems, or at least helping them.
Okay, sure. So actually, the app was originally developed by OSHA in 2011. However, NIOSH had a criteria document full of recommendations related to heat stress that came out last year. And so at that time, OSHA approached us and said they were interested in handing off the app to us and letting us update the app and redesign it using the newer NIOSH recommendations for heat stress. And so basically what the app does is it uses your location and it downloads temperature and humidity data from NOAA satellites. And then it calculates the heat index. And the heat index is important because it's actually how hot it feels for these workers. And then based on the heat index, it will assign a risk level. And then based on that risk level, it will provide recommendations depending on how high your risk for heat-related illnesses is at the time.
Now, we see a lot of contractors working late. Sometimes we hope that they don't, but they suffer from heat stroke, dehydration. These are the things that we're trying to minimize so much with this?
Yes, in addition to heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat rash, there's also heat-related injuries. So, workers that are sweating a lot may have slippery hands. They may not feel well, and so they're more likely to faint or pass out on the job, resulting in injuries to themselves or possibly their coworkers around them.
So what are some of the recommendations that you're trying to help them with this? Because the idea is to actually use the app. And so sometimes they have it, but they're not actually using it. So what are the recommendations you have for them?
Right. So some recommendations might be trying to limit your time on some of the hottest and hardest jobs. And so that may mean increasing the length and the amount of breaks you're taking. Also, even just increasing the number of workers on a task. If it's a really hard task, having additional help will help relieve some of the burden. We also have recommendations regarding training for both the supervisors and the workers, as well as, recommending even just, having buddy systems in place so that, somebody is able to kind of help monitor not only how they're feeling in the heat, but also how their coworkers are handling the heat. We also have recommendations related to hydration. Oftentimes these workers are working, for a limited amount of time where maybe water is appropriate. However, if they're working longer periods of time in the heat and they're sweating a lot, it may actually be more optimal for them to have something like a Powerade or a Gatorade or some sort of sports drink that helps replace some of those electrolytes that can be lost in sweat.
How do you get this app? Where is it? Where is it right now?
So it's available for both Apple iOS and Android. So you can go on Google Play or the Apple iTunes Store and download it. And it is a free app. If you have Spanish-speaking workers, if their phones are set to Spanish, they'll be able to download the app in Spanish.
I love the idea that you also mentioned the buddy kind of side of this, because I think sometimes people, workers in the sun, don't realize they're getting dehydrated. Are there tips and things like that with this app and the buddy side of this that they can put cues in there about each other, that they learn from things or help each other know that you don't realize that you get dehydrated maybe a little bit faster than somebody else, your coworker, that someone else can see, or that you can put things in this app or other things about that help them?
So we do have some links within the app for more instructions. And so one of the things NIOSH has suggested as kind of an awareness tool is a urine color chart. And so that's one thing that can vary by the individual. And so typically the more dehydrated you are, the darker your urine becomes. So that's something that, can help with self-monitoring. The app also has some featured buttons on it where it lists different symptoms for various heat-related illnesses. There's also a list of risk factors because, if you're on certain medications or you have certain health issues, that might put you at higher risk than some of your coworkers.
Well, Brenda, it's been great having you on the show today, and thank you so much for joining us for Safety Zone.
Thank you. It was great being here.
All right. That's our list today for Safety Zone. Faith Technologies has a unique strategy for emerging technologies and process innovations. Think BIM in a box, accelerate manufacturing, and so much more. Today I'm here with Tom Clark, who's the Executive Vice President of Pre-Construction, and we're actually going to talk about all these unique things that you guys are doing. So, Tom, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Tom, you guys have a unique value proposition to really show all the emerging technologies you have with customers and all the value that you're teaching and actually showing them that you guys are doing. Let's talk about the little rich history that you have here at Faith Technologies and give our viewers a chance to understand how Faith has grown. I'd love to understand that a little bit.
Yeah, we've been around since 1972 as an electrical contractor, but about 10 years ago, we started to listen to our customers and hear what they were telling us in areas that we needed to improve. And as part of that, we started our entire pre-construction effort in terms of adding our pre-construction resources to the organization, really driven by using technology to be more productive on the job site, to help the efficiency of what we're doing in the construction industry. So over the course of the last 10 years, probably more specifically over the course of the last 5 years, we've really developed internal resources, both human capital type resources as well as technology resources to really drive innovation with our customers and with the subcontractors and other contractors that we work with.
Now, you've done a lot of amazing things. I toured your manufacturing facility yesterday. Earlier today, I was up in the Innovation Center. Talk a little bit about a couple of things. Let's talk about the Innovation Center that you have there and how you show people and the technology that you're doing up there.
Yeah, you know, it's hard in the construction industry, unlike a manufacturing business where you can bring somebody into a manufacturing facility and see the widgets that you're making. To see everything that we do, you'd have to go to 20 or 30 job sites and across the country to see that. So we created the Innovation Center here in Menasha to be able to bring our customers to show them all the innovations that we're bringing to our clients and that we're bringing to the industry. So it's an ability for us to bring everybody in here and be able to show them what we're doing.
Do most people think that you would traditionally have an innovation center? Because that's just not traditional, I would say. That's unique, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say 100% of the customers or partners that we've brought into the Innovation Center, by the time we've given them the tour and sit down to have some further discussions, they say, you guys really aren't an electrical contractor anymore, are you? And that's true. You know, we've kind of evolved from what the electrical contractor typically is viewed as in the industry, but it definitely is something that's a little bit unique.
Now, I find that interesting because if you want to get the best of the best and be able to train and get new millennials in, that has to be appealing for them, because we've talked about this in the industry. We have a workforce shortage, and in order to get and start training those new trades, I would assume that has to be appealing. Plus, it's a great way for you to do some things to get those top-notch millennials today.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about that in this organization every day. How do we attract the new talent, and how do we attract the millennials, and how do we attract the younger generation? And whether it's the office staff, you know, and the professional type people that we need to bring in, engineers, pre-construction managers, and the layout of this office to be more, you know, more friendly to those types of people, to how we're communicating and how we're recruiting the next generation of apprentices and journeymen as well. It all helps kind of tell that overall story that we want to be an employer of choice. We want them to become work for Faith Technology so we can have the best in the industry.
So let's talk about it. What do you think is your secret sauce? I mean, there's a lot of things you just described that make you unique and different, but what is that you would say is that right now?
You know, I think, I don't know if there's one thing. There's a lot of different things that we do as an organization. It's really hard to pinpoint it, but I would say the thing that's differentiating us today is the way that we're investing in technology to be able to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of what we're doing in the field. Whether that's not just taking BIM, or not just taking our estimating software, not just taking total workstations, but how do we integrate those tools and made an investment in the organization? What is it going to look like in 5 years or 10 years from now? Not just how we're using it today, but how can we continue to engage in those technologies to continue that improvement down the road? So I think that's probably the difference that's really driving the innovation in the business today.
What's your greatest, you know, as we wrap this up, what's the thing you're most proud of? Is it the technology? Is it the people? Is it how the company's evolved? What are you most proud of that you've seen Faith Technologies do so far?
I would say it's the people that work here. You know, we've went through a lot of change over the course of the last 10 years. And there's a lot of people that at times maybe got a little frustrated. This is change, this is hard, this isn't the way that we've done things. But to be able to, for those individuals to be able to persevere through that, and for the individuals to provide, we wouldn't be anything without the employees that we have, and we wouldn't be able to do anything with all the great customers that we have if it wasn't for the value that they bring and the hard work that they have every day. So I would say the people that we have in this organization are really the thing that kind of stand out for you and keep you motivated to come and continue to do great things.
Tom, thank you for being with us, and we enjoyed this conversation and all our discussion today, and that's someone you should know. We talk about emerging technologies a lot. When will human-based technology have a chance to shine? Will a virtual assistant or an avatar find its niche in the field? Is this notion too far-fetched? Or will it be here sooner than you and I may ever think? The question remains, will it serve as an extension of the worker or take the place of one? Here to answer the pressing question is Masoud Gassari, Assistant Professor of Construction Management at the University of Florida. Masoud, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So Masoud, let's talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing on this human-centered research. What actually is human-centered computing? What does that all mean?
Great question. Human-centered computing focuses on design, development, and deployment of human-computer systems while considering human needs. So humans are at the center of this type of the research, and we try to design computational artifacts to satisfy the human needs. So if I want to put it in a nutshell, human-centered computing is a kind of iterative process that you try to have humans within the whole process of designing the technology, evaluating and testing it, and at the end refining it to make sure that it would satisfy whatever the needs of the humans are. And in our case, the new humans would be construction workers and professionals who are on the job side.
So how does that truly impact when you're describing that for construction? What does that exactly mean when we think about it in terms of a construction job site?
So let me put it into some examples. One of the areas that I'm working on is called human UAV interaction, in which we study how the UAVs can be, or also known as drones and or unmanned aerial vehicles, can be used for the construction safety applications. So what we do, we go and talk to safety managers, understand what their needs are, how the working environment that they are working at looks like, and what are the top of the tasks that they're doing, what are the decisions, and then we try to understand how a UAV can satisfy those needs or requirements. For example, we know that the safety managers need to be all the time on the job site, walk around, interact with the workers, observe and make sure that all the regulations and OSHA regulation is followed on the job site through the visual observation of the job site that they have. So we thought that maybe a UAV can be a good tool that can fly. It can play as a role of a safety manager assistant drone that can fly on the job site and provides them with the same direct observation of the job site, not only from like a human perspective, but it can be like a bird's eye view and can observe a better view of the job site, and can also go to inaccessible areas which is unsafe for the safety manager. So, and then try to understand what type of sensors such a UAV platform have in order to satisfy the needs and requirements. So as you see, the safety manager would be the core part of a research, and then we try to polish a new piece of technology or artifact, which is the UAV, to make sure it satisfies their needs and their requirements.
So simply a drone is actually going to replace, in some areas where the construction would go, in areas that they can't go, to save them from some risky areas. So you're going to shape that human-centered role around where you can put a robot, so to speak. A drone can be actually provide information and data in that area.
Exactly. So traditionally, the UAVs and unmanned aerial systems, they have been used for various applications in heavy civil and transportation. They have been used for traffic simulation and surveillance, and also bridge monitoring. But in construction, they're much more new. So they are being used for progress monitoring, for facade inspection, and and also the safety inspection. And the whole idea behind that, like the way that we need to look at the UAVs, it's like a point that you can have on the job site, and you can mount any type of sensors that you need on top of that, which in our case would be like video cameras or like maybe other type of the sensors that we might need. But like depending on the type of the task that you might need, you can like equip that vehicle with different type of the sensors. So it would be a vehicle of variety type of sensors that can go anywhere that you want on the job site and provide you with real-time data that you need to make your decisions.
Masoud, let's talk a little bit about when we're thinking about the virtual humans. I know that's something that we've discussed in the past. How do you see that coming into play?
So the virtual humans are, okay, so virtual reality, which is like the part which virtual human goes as a part of the virtual reality. Virtual reality provides a framework for visualization and interaction in computer-generated environments. But usually in VR, we try to model everything like objects, systems, building, bridges, and highways. But like if we go and expand it to the humans, then we will have virtual humans which can be in the shape of the avatars or agents. So what they do they play the role of the human in such a virtual environment, and either it can be computer operated or it can be another human operated, but within the virtual environment. So it has been mainly used for educational purposes. So for example, for system evaluation and analysis, for collaboration and communication between different team members, and so to understand how whether there is like special temporal challenges or issues or safety issues within the virtual environment. So that's where the virtual human have played an important role for AEC applications.
So taking this a step further now, we've looked at where technology is really advancing. What about this gap that we're seeing when we think about the skilled labor force, or the lack thereof, that we see in the job site right now? It's really becoming very predominant. How do you see using this technology to really narrow that gap and maybe make it an educated workforce?
So I believe education and training would be a solution for preparing workforce and also the student for this new technological era. Like industry and the universities should work hand in hand, and not just one company or one university, to make sure that we are providing these new methods and the new gadgets and technologies for the people who are going to learn, who are going to be independent learner, independent researcher, and to understand how these new technologies can be used for satisfying their needs in the workforce. So I believe that, like, I have an example for my student that whenever I have a guest speaker, I tell them, okay, how many software packages or tools do you use in your team? And they're talking about many different tools and packages. And then I ask my student, do you think we can cover everything? And for sure we can't do that. So, but we need to make sure that through training and education, we are preparing new workforce, that they are independent thinkers, they are independent learners, that even whatever new technology that comes out, they are capable of learning about it in order to make sure that they're competitive enough in the new technological era that we are in.
Well, these are truly exciting times. Thank you so much for being with us, Masoud, and sharing all these things that are happening in the innovation of tech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me in the program.
Welcome to Got a Tool. Xerox is making some pretty strong claims, and it's saying that your printer can be your smart workplace assistant. So I thought I would put it to the test and see if that is really true. Now let me run through some key points here so we can really look at that and we can kind of give it a try. The product is called the VersaLink C405, and it prints both in color and black and white. It is also able to do all the other things you could think about, like copy, email, fax, and scan. And here's where it really gets interesting. The product has a number of different apps that can make your life a little bit easier. So let's take a look at one of those here. The Xerox Mobile Link app allows you to do all the things we just talked about: scan, email, fax, print, and you can do all of those from your phone or your tablet. So let's kind of give it a try. I'm going to have one of my workers send a document, which is the cover of our magazine right here, using the Scan to Email Cloud function of the Mobile Link app. And then this allows workers to scan a document and have it sent directly to email. While we're waiting for that to happen, I want to mention, in order for all of this function to work on your mobile device and on the printer, we need to be connected at all times. But here's what I find kind of interesting and some of the points. Through the Capture Point app that they have, you can send items as these kind of editable PDF forms or Word or Excel documents. But at the job site, this can be a very handy little app. And what I like about this is you can have subs or workers need to make a change in a spreadsheet, and you can send it back as an Excel spreadsheet in the original form. Now, I think that's really where the value comes into play for construction. Another thing I want to mention, though, about this is setup. Now, I know that many people would say, or Xerox would say in this case, that it really requires anybody can set this up pretty easily. But what we found out is that you have to have somebody who has some IT experience and some knowledge to set it up. And now we found that it was a little bit tough, but once you got it all set up, you really could get this, and it got set up pretty easily. So once we were all set up and it was installed, we found everything was ease of use. And I would certainly give it very high ratings for ease of use. Now, the value for the construction industry is being able to send and scan documents to remote workers. Now, I see that my item is coming in, so we're going to give it a try here. And look at that. There it is, right there. The scan came through. So in my assessment, this is a handy little printer. So I would say, let's be honest. Is it Alexa? No. As many of my staff members who have tried this out will tell you, it's just a printer with some nice little apps. But does that mean there's not a lot of opportunity for app developers to create something really special, and that there's really something, if they put their minds to it? Just think about it. For all those people, if they said the iPhone was just a smartphone. So there's our Got a Tool for today. Are your fleets ready to follow the ELD mandate on December 18th? It's time to answer that question, as the deadline is fast approaching. ELD, otherwise known as the Electronic Logging Device. This rule is part of MAP 21, also known as the Moving Ahead for the Progress in the 21st Century Act. It calls for the Secretary of Transportation to adopt regulations for device usage. This includes commercial motor vehicles involved in interstate commerce when drivers need to keep records of duty status. Many construction companies will need to comply with this new mandate come December 18th. Today, I'm going to help you prepare your fleet. The ELD rule requires integral synchronization. This captures engine power status, vehicle motion status, miles driven, and engine hours. It also calls for automated entry at each change of duty status. The device must also be able to present a graph grid of duty status. Now, there are many devices emerging today that are claiming to be ELD compliant. Devices can be independent or used on a smartphone. There are also many apps that are ELD compliant as well. There are also many larger suites that meet ELD requirements. So it's really a matter of determining what is best for your company and what meets your specific needs. So look carefully before you leap. December 18th is going to be here sooner than you know it. Are your fleets ready for the ELD mandate? If not, today might be a good day to get started. That's your Learn It for today. GPS. I know you've all heard this term before, but what really is a global positioning system? And how is it impacting your construction job sites? Those are the questions I'm going to answer here for you today. GPS is a radio navigation technology, and it is based on the satellite system operated and owned by the U.S. Department of Defense. It can be used to determine the current latitude, longitude, and even elevation of a receiver anywhere on the Earth. For the construction industry, GPS has many uses. It can be used for surveying, monitoring equipment, and even managing all your resources. But now GPS has a new friendly competitor. It's known as Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE. This is a low-cost alternative to GPS, and it can work for many years depending on the broadcasting frequency. The biggest difference? GPS is better at pinpointing a more precise location, which, as many of you know, is critical in construction. GPS isn't going anywhere soon, and it is still going to be critical to ensure your job sites are operating effectively and efficiently. GPS, that's your word of the day. And thanks for watching Construct Tech TV, where we are talking tech at the job site.